I guess for now, we'll just stick with the Malpractice Office podcast. Really creative.
Yeah, the two old people in the malpractice office.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not old. I just turned 24.
Right. I don't know where that came from, but all right.
You said two old people in the office.
I said the whole two people.
Oh, I thought you said old people.
Old people.
Oh. Well, it's going to be interesting seeing how well it'll translate with you losing connection occasionally.
It won't happen very good, is what the answer to that will be.
I'm sure nobody will care.
Everybody's going to care.
Yeah, people will probably care, but I won't care because I don't listen to them.
There's only going to be one comment, and it's going to be, stop talking to this freakazoid with this shit mic.
Right, and like, as I was sitting here planning the podcast, I was like, we should cover some topics, and then you had your topics, and we had a couple jokes planned, and I was like, I wonder why these other guys that I watch, why they start every podcast with them syncing their footage. And I was like, why? And then I realized, oh, it's because they're gonna get their own microphones perfectly. But if the other person cuts out at all, you can just grab the other person's footage and just overlap them. You can see right there, you lit up with your icon, but I heard nothing.
Yes.
And then I was like, well, should I ask him to record his side of the audio? And then I thought to myself, yeah, no way he's gonna do that.
And it would take you a whole, week to get it from me.
I mean, you would only need to be an audio file, so it wouldn't be that big of a file. Audio isn't a lot of data.
Also, you could do it, but it still wouldn't make it so that you could hear me when you didn't hear me.
Well, no, because it would. I guess it would run into the exact reason that you use push to talk, and it's because it would have to constantly pick up all of the noise without a sound gate trying to block out the sound of your fan.
I mean, I turned it off.
Yeah, but even then, it's and it's one of the issues that I have with my videos is I would lean back in my chair and you could hear it creak, and it was like, oh, great. Now in my video, there's just a random screeching sound in the background.
I made fun of that in one of those videos.
You probably did. The videos you edited came out really well, and I wish you'd have done more.
Where it's minimalist both in effort and nature.
I mean, if you try too hard, you just end up like, what was the name of the comedian? Jerry Seinfeld or something? Or was he just from Seinfeld?
Well, there's a lot of people from Seinfeld.
The one who does stand-up comedy in every episode is like the opening.
Jerry's the guy that does the stand-up.
Yeah, if you try too hard, you end up with his level of comedy.
What's the deal with airline food, eh?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever laughed at one of those bits.
I think it's only funny when it's so terrible that that's the only thing you can do is laugh at it.
I mean, if being terrible was a great way to get people to laugh, I would be a much more popular YouTuber. Oh, by the way, I hit record about 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I know, I didn't warn you to not be racist.
So, I was watching a video that was in my feed.
Oh. Well, I guess that explains something. Normally you're a lot crisper. Yeah, because you're not coming in at all for quite a few of these. Oh no. Pointing out the problem made it worse. I almost heard you for a second there. Oh, I heard something there.
It was an I don't know.
Oh. Well, you're much louder now.
Because I'm basically eating it now.
Ooh, I can do that to my mic. Should we try? Here, let me just.
How about
go get mine.
Yeah, how about
Here, I'm gonna go ahead and eat my mic too. Now we're both deep throating them.
This is why I didn't want you to do that.
Yeah, well, you're not watching the audio spike. It's gonna sound.
Yeah, I can hear the audio spike.
Could you hear it through the tinnitus that I'm sure I've caused?
Yes, I can hear the difference. It's almost like you got closer and enlarged the voice waves coming into the mic.
And this thing's got its sensitivity cranked down. If I turned that up and I like sneezed into it, it'd be like a flashbang in your ears.
I think that the bang part of the flashbang is it's the explosion and it deafens you.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say concussion grenade, but that also is something that kind of has to happen in the same room as you. Either way, loud pop leave shakes with no ringy ears.
I've already got the tinnitus. It won't do more damage.
How did you end up with tinnitus? You don't work like in a factory that's got loud sounds.
I like loud music.
Oh, you just ignore all of the safety labels.
There's a point at which your volume will tell you that listening to this loud of a level of music for long periods of time may damage your hearing. And I go, that sign can't stop me because I refuse to read it.
I mean, luckily our entire bid is supposed to be a malpractice office, so I'm sure we can make a joke about how I can fix that. That being said, you ever heard of malpractice insurance?
No.
Do you have an attorney on speed dial?
Should I?
No. Actually, you can just ignore that part. Listen, if you wake up, we consider it a success, whether we did or did not remove the tumor.
I think I'll just go ahead and not get the surgery.
Listen, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut open the abdomen, take the liver, close it, possibly, and then rub it around your ears and hope that through the transitive properties, it heals you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and not participate in that.
What if I also offer to give you half of what your liver sells for?
Why would I take that? It's my liver.
Not anymore. It's been removed.
Not anymore. I'm keeping it.
Better idea. I take the liver. I don't rub it on your face, and we'll split it 60-40.
How about no?
How about, okay, hear me out. New offer. We take somebody else's liver.
This is what we're gonna do for a full 2 hours. Is you're going to try and convince me that I should give you my liver?
You said you wanted more content than useless background roll. I figure if we at least...
That is the most useless conversation that you could have came up with. Hey, how about you let me take your liver out? No. All right, but what if I try to convince you? Still no. And then you try to convince me for an hour and a half.
I'm just thinking, that's something that somebody might laugh at. Listen, if YouTubers...
laughing at it, but I pointed out how stupid it was.
Okay, I never said my ideas were intelligent, nor claimed myself to be intelligent. Okay, the doctor part of this is possibly a fabrication.
You're not even a doctor. I'm the doctor here.
Listen, Dr. Shakes, PhD still pending, if that's even your middle name. I didn't have anything to follow up. That was the end of the joke.
Yeah, okay,
that was the end of the bit.
I was waiting for a bit of a monologue at the end of that, and it just didn't happen.
I had nothing.
Listen here, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And then just nothing after that.
Oh man. Yeah, no, okay. I remember what I was actually going to say. I was going to say if popular YouTubers with millions of subscribers can just throw random shit at each other and call it a podcast, we can too.
But they also like have a topic that they talk about, and sometimes there's something interesting in it instead of it just being verbal diarrhea for an hour.
Listen, I only listened to two podcasts, and
You didn't have like a topic or anything in mind. You were just like, fuck it.
we discussed topics. We were gonna discuss gun control because that's always topical in America.
Why didn't you start with that? Why'd you
Because
go to the liver joke that wasn't funny?
because I promise you, somebody will laugh at it in 3 years when we finally become popular.
If only it was that generous.
I mean, if you throw enough darts at a board, you'll eventually hit the bullseye. A broken clock is still right twice a day. I can hope.
Yeah, but that's not that doesn't have anything to do with the clock. It just happens to be right.
Exactly, and we'll just happen to find somebody who's, I don't know, high off their ass, hears the liver joke, and just dies.
They're already listening to a lot of other people. Well, there might be an opening now that that super mega thing happened, but I don't want to be the next super mega.
What's the super mega thing?
It's a real complicated string of bullshit that happened. I think like a month ago.
Was it over podcasts or something?
No, they did a podcast. I don't know if it came back or not, but they're at the very least on hiatus for something to do with one of their editors being accused of being a rapist by one of their friends, and they've just like shamed themselves into hermitude.
Huh. So what the hell is super mega then?
Super Mega were the two guys that were part of what the hell was that old one? One of they used to be part of a 3-man thing that did skits, and I can't remember the name of the channel. And then one of them died, and then they went away for a while, and then they came back, and their new channel was Super Mega.
Huh. Weird. I've never heard of that.
They did editing for Game Grumps for a while. They're in some of their videos.
You see, this brings up something off topic that I do find hilarious. So I never heard of this super mega. I had no idea who any of these people were, and you had to explain it to me. But yet, check back a couple months, billionaires going down in a submarine. I go to talk to you about it, and you are just absolutely clueless, despite the fact that it is the biggest thing currently happening on the internet.
So if I just look at their first like 10 videos, it's all they have a couple of podcasts, which is they actually like sit in a room for this, and they have like 76 episodes of Truck Simulator.
Did you even hear the part I said?
Submarine that went down.
That wasn't the focus of that topic, though.
The funny submarine. Well, that's the only part that I heard.
Good to know you're such a great listener. Maybe we do need to do the tinnitus surgery. No, I said it. I thought it was amusing that you knew about this hiatus in this podcast, but you hadn't heard a single thing about the submarine when I brought it up to you.
I only know about it because one of the YouTubers that I watch made a video about it.
And
Yeah,
I
like literally a month ago, where they did their response videos like literally a month ago, and I didn't watch it because these guys are. I honestly can't tell when they're joking or not most of the time, so they do like stupid shit like this all the time, or they'll be like serious about it, but it's actually a joke. So I just stopped trying to understand if it's a joke or not.
I mean, let's face the facts. All right, all of the sexual jokes that I make, honestly, they're just preparation for when I become famous. Because name a famous person that doesn't have some kind of sex scandal after them right now.
Uh, Daniel
Exactly.
Radcliffe.
It took you a minute to try and think of somebody. Yeah, I think my wife was talking about how Rick and Morty was supposed to be on hiatus because of some uh, CP allegations against one of the writers, and I have zero knowledge on that. I didn't look up or back into it, but all I could think of was, yeah, yeah, famous person, something illegal, sounds real. I don't know. Is that a thing? Or are the creators of Rick and
Is
Morty
what is
creepy?
what a thing. There was that guy that was the main head behind it got accused of something. I can't remember what it was.
Okay, so she might have actually told me something factual.
You know, like there is an actual thing going on. I think it was the voice actor for Rick and Morty. What the fuck is his name?
Uh, Here, if I literally just type in Rick and Morty sex
Yeah,
allegations,
Justin Roland.
uh, cut because sexual harassment claim.
I found felony domestic charges and two of them.
I didn't scroll down beyond the first thing because I didn't want to get too deep into it. But yeah, okay, let's take a
It's
look.
literally right at the top. It says Rick and Morty voice. I googled Rick and Morty voice actor fired, and it's right at the top. Justin Roland.
I mean, I typed in sex allegations and I got Justin Rowland was cut for sexual harassment claims. Justin
Got the
Rowland's
box
alleged
article. Maybe I shouldn't have read that.
toxic behavior included telling a woman to go into sexual slavery. Wow, that is delightful. I just gotta
It's
love
been worse
that
on the
world.
show.
I mean, the Rick and Morty is full of incredibly raunchy humor for the
I
sake
think
of
the
it.
best part about this is that he's the voice actor of both of the main characters. So what are they? Have they figured out what they're going to do about that because they wanted to do another season?
It's gonna be really hard to mimic the iconic stutter.
It's not that hard. I'm sure they can find people.
I was making a joke. I've literally heard everybody doing an impression get the stutter down. I could probably do it. I'm just too distracted with my cats who decided they wanted to start playing now because I turned on the recording. I swear it's the only time they decide they want to play.
Because they hear you talking.
Right? Any other time I look over and they're just laying somewhere staring off at the ceiling. But the minute it's like, I want to record a video or something, and then boom, they're the most hyper things on the planet. Luckily, I've got a laser pointer. I wonder if I can get them to crash into something. Full speed across the living room. Off you go.
You know, I was watching videos trying to find things for topics like last week when you mentioned this, and now I've completely forgotten what I found.
I mean, I had. Here's the thing: you can just steal anything from like TikTok or YouTube Shorts, because so many people go over so many random things that nobody would know you're just stealing from other people's content.
Not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to admit it.
You're not supposed to steal. No, you're not. You're not supposed to steal. This isn't a video game where there's just no consequences if you didn't get caught.
This is the internet. There are no consequences even if you do get caught.
There are lots of consequences. What are you talking about?
There are none.
Somebody could mail you a pipe bomb and you wouldn't even know until you opened it.
Well, I just won't open my mail. I ignore most of it anyways. I only had to start checking.
Mailman who has to clean it out. The mailman who cleans it out gets killed instead of you.
It's sounds like I survive. Hey, I'll take him in. I'll take his liver out. I'll rub it around him, see if it brings him back. If it doesn't, I don't have to split
I don't think it's going to help. I really don't think it's going to help.
Listen, if he's too far gone, it just means that whatever's salvageable is money in the bank.
I don't think any of that is salvageable.
Money in the bank, then. I see this as an absolute win. There was the short thing of "My life is for democracy" and somebody yelled "Democracy is cringe." Read some Aristotle.
Yeah, I did like that too.
I'm not sure how we could. Did you want to talk about democracy?
Is that a thing that you want to talk about?
I mean, it's that or kid gets attacked by bees in Minecraft meme. You've sent those both to me.
Who's your favorite Democrat?
The one that isn't 50.
AOC?
I don't know. Is there one that's not 50 years old?
Yeah, AOC.
Then I don't know. That guy.
It's the chick. She's the lady that fake cried in front of a parking lot pretending to be at the border patrol wall.
Sounds like a competent leader for the future.
He's like 23, I think.
I would take it over somebody that belongs in a retirement home running the country.
The job she had before she was in government was waitress.
Sounds like somebody more qualified than most of the people currently running the country.
Do you think that?
I do think that, but that's also because I have very simple political views. And when it comes time to strap on the leather and wait for the next government to rise, I'll be ready. Until then, I'm keeping my head down.
AOC, what you doing?
What is AOC? Is that like the
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Cortez, like the Spaniard?
Yeah.
That's all I've
I think
got.
she prefers Latinx, but
I mean, there's probably some politically correct version. I hear Cortez and I immediately think to the Spanish invasion of, I think it was the Aztecs or the Mayans. I don't know my history.
maybe you should.
See, I used to. History was like my best subject in high school. I got that shit down flat. I would also sleep in the class because the teacher would have the other kids read, and it was the most painful thing ever.
Sorry, she's not 23, she's 33. My bad.
Oh no, she still sounds like she's capable of wiping her own ass, and that's better than good old Biden poo.
I literally watched a video about him today. They were giving out the Medal of Honor, and he just walked out in the middle of the ceremony.
I am not surprised. Every time
Everybody's looking around, confused, like what the fuck? Where's he going?
the Secret Service received a number two threat, which is Biden who needed a diaper change.
I like how you said that your politics are very simple, and then when it comes to Biden, you're just like, oh yeah, he craps himself all the time. He's just like doo-doo feces all over his legs wherever he goes, wherever.
My greatest source of political knowledge was a redneck who didn't like Trump but tolerated the stupid wall scheme and doesn't like Biden or getting Trump back into office, but admits continuing the wall scheme was better than what we got. To which I looked at all of that and went, huh, we've really started building a fucking wall. There are no other ways to get things across that border. It all has to be done on foot. Can't take a boat. Can't dig a tunnel. Definitely don't fly it over. Wall.
To have to have a Twitter account to look at people's Twitters.
I don't know. Is it even called Twitter right now?
They changed the name to X, but it also says new to Twitter in the corner. So I don't know.
I could swear the name got changed after X. Let's see, what is a Twitter called now? Let's see. No, yeah, they're still just X. Okay.
I don't know, but I looked. I found her page without being signed in. The first thing I see is all of her posts on January 6th. So
What happened then?
you know what happened then.
I do not remember what happened.
Yeah, you fucking do. Don't pretend like you don't know.
What happened? You have to explain it to me.
I don't want to explain it to you.
What day?
But it's January 6th.
January 6th. AOC. Let's see.
No, just January 6th. You don't need the AOC part.
Just January 6th. Former Proud Boy leader Enrique Tarrio sentenced?
Where the fuck did you find that?
I literally slapped January 6th into Google and it said top story, former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio sentenced. It is like everything that is at the top.
Basically what happened was Trump, during the end of the last election where Biden was going to become president, Trump basically said "nuh-uh," and he went to Washington to give a speech. He wasn't at the Capitol when he gave the speech, but he did plan on. I think he planned on going there later to peacefully protest. He said this out loud on video. You can't deny this. He said he wanted to peacefully assemble, and then a bunch of idiots went to the Capitol anyway, and they decided to not be super peaceful about it.
Oh, was that the thing where like they opened the doors and let a ton of people just run around the White House?
The police opened the doors for people. They let them run around in the White House. Some people did some weird shit. I think somebody stole Pelosi's speech pedestal thing.
I mean,
there was a dude in a buffalo hat, the QAnon shaman, running around.
You only live once. You get a chance into the White House. You're either gonna steal a chair or a vase, or you're gonna smear shit on the walls.
Except you don't want to do that because the FBI will come and they'll take you to jail forever.
I mean, that's just why you don't do the second one, because there's DNA in your shit. But
they were breaking windows and getting in that way. They brought like a little shitty plywood noose that was like barely standing in the video. They were yelling about how they wanted to hang Pence, I think it was.
I mean, that probably would have been pretty fucking scary in the heat of the moment, but
There was also I remember seeing something about like a fire where they were burning stuff, but I can't remember what it was.
you know, now that I think about it, I want to dial back. You say they broke the windows.
Yeah, there were some people breaking windows to get in.
Why does the White House not have like all bulletproof windows?
I don't know.
That or some people are really scary at breaking windows.
Not that having a gun would have helped them. None of them had any guns.
Well, no, I'm just thinking like if a bulletproof window shouldn't shatter very easily, right? So if you can break a window with a couple of angry people and just fists, elbows, and a little bit of wood, what the hell is the security against assassination attempts? Other than the 100 Secret Service guys roaming outside and inside.
And the ones that maybe probably sort of kind of were in the crowd instigating things, but I don't endorse that.
I cannot disclose too much information on this subject.
Let's just say there was a certain man that they have very clear video evidence of inciting the crowd to go into the Capitol, and conveniently nobody can find this dude, and he has not been charged for anything.
Listen,
So unless he killed himself and threw himself into the ocean, and also like deleted all of his existence online and as a citizen,
that sounds plausible.
he like disappeared, like he went full ghost.
Yeah, if anybody could pull it off, it would be somebody not with
It would be an
power.
action ghost, yeah. If anybody was going to pull it off, it would be Danny Phantom.
It was Danny Phantom is head of Secret Service conspiracy.
That's how you know it's him. Is that they call him conspiracy theorists when they say it was Danny Phantom, but in the video you can clearly hear him yelling, "I'm going ghost!" right before he goes to the Capitol.
Just like the ninja guy during the Area 51 raid.
He possesses one of the cops to let the people into the Capitol.
Yeah, what did happen with the Area 51 raid? I remember they tried.
There were like 5
they were,
people that showed up, and all of them, like a Naruto, ran for the meme, and then they decided they didn't want to get shot at and killed.
well, I thought like they did have a large crowd show up, but most of them were basically there to watch anybody actually try it, and the people who tried it were simply told turn around and don't try again, and then, like you said, they didn't want to get shot, so they didn't try again.
That's basically what happened. Was that they saw a bunch of tweets online about how they were going to raid Area 51, and then when people actually showed up, they found a fence and a bunch of dudes with guns, and they said try it, and the internet trolls said, all right, we don't want to die.
It's one thing to call your newborn baby ugly online. It's another thing to see a man who doesn't like his job pointing a gun at me. I heard stories about like the level of security at Area 51, and some of them just make me think like this sounds like Hollywood level security. Like one guy who's like, "Oh yeah, I was a guard at Area 51. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but there's so little to talk about. I'm going to." "Oh well, what'd you do there?" "Oh well, I stood in front of a door, and I was told that if the wrong person tried to get past me, I would shoot them, and that if I turned around while the door was open, I would get shot. And that was my job, guarding security in Area 51.
What's in there? I don't know.
I
I just dropped the door.
They told me that if I tried to look, I'd die, so I didn't look. And I lived.
Basically.
And to me, that's like the most cartoonish amount of security. Like, there's two guys, and they understand that they will have to shoot the other guy if the other guy turns too much to scratch his ass cheek and accidentally gets a glimpse through the door. Like, that there's no way that's real. That's totally a troll.
I mean, it may as well be real for all we know about it.
I did. Nobody got far enough inside to check. Area 51's got a body disposal for people who tried to get in and people who oopsied.
We had to get rid of your husband. Also, you, if you ever say that you had a husband.
Yeah, your husband never exists. We're gonna need to see all of your photo albums, a copy of his yearbook, and you're gonna need a good cover story for when he has his high school reunion.
We basically ruined your entire life, but we're going to be merciful and let you live with the crippling depression of knowing that we just unalived your husband and then disappeared him off the face of the planet.
At 5 million to make one guy disappear, or $20 to make his family disappear, and just let the investigation fade to nothing when the police try and figure it out. We're going with the 5 million option. Got to make sure we don't go under budget this year.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Their budget is based off of how much they spend, not how much they actually need.
The few times where people would ask me what I would do if I was president, that is always the thing that comes up, and it's like I would probably, I don't know, tighten the spending and make sure people aren't just shit. We're gonna have $4 million left this year. Everybody gets a bonus. Now we won't.
You know that's how that is from experience though in the military is that they literally have to use it or they have less next year.
I was gonna try to avoid bringing up that I was in the military on the podcast for a while, but
the Ethiopian military.
No. I'll just go ahead. It was the National Guard. It's not like it's very exciting.
He wasn't real military. He was a standby military.
I was a weekend warrior. My ass got to drive a Humvee once a month for about 5 miles, and then I drove it back and I changed the oil on it.
I said this because didn't you tell me that you and a bunch of your buddies were just like out on the range just wasting thousands of rounds of ammo for no reason?
Yeah, that is an unfortunate. That is unfortunately something that did happen.
Yeah, the military just does that because that's how their budget works. Is they have to use it and they have to go over on their budget, or they don't get as much budget next year.
Yep, if we get like 10,000 rounds and we only shoot 8, next year they only give us 8, and then if we go, oops, we needed another 8.5, or we just need another 5 rounds, they won't give it to you because you didn't need it last year. So why do you need it this year?
Because that makes all kinds of sense.
Meanwhile, not Gordon, Dave Ramsey, listening to him in high school, and he's just, your budget should look different every month because you're going to spend a little more or spend a little less, depending on how many times you run for an extra burrito at the gas station, or if you get a couple extra days off that month and you don't have to spend as much gas money.
Yeah, it's a real thing, except the government doesn't accept the less part, they only accept the more part.
Yeah. Which is why...
There's no saving money in the military, there's only excessive force.
Which is why you can fire an $80,000 javelin missile at 2 dudes in a truck with an old World War II Browning and get a pat on the back and a promotion for it.
That's a real thing. Is command? I see a man with an AK. Nuke the town.
I mean, if we're trying to play more realistic, it's more like I want this man to cease to exist.
It's not an actual down, but they do just like tomahawk missile the entire building.
Right? Every time I see like the movies and they're just showing air support roll in, and it's like, oh, it's all Hollywood movie magic. They would never. No, they would. Hey, this one building has one dude inside it. We're pretty sure he's the only person in the building, and there totally isn't like 8 families in there as well. Hit it with a missile.
I've got all of their Facebook stuff now. All of them have at least one post that says "fuck America." Take the whole building down.
Man, the number of stories of stupidity that I got just literally just eating lunch in the National Guard and listening to other people tell stupid stories. There was one of a couple guys who were using Snapchat in the field, and Jihad Joes found their Snapchat, and they had that GPS Snapchat thing, and so they used that.
You really don't want to be taking pictures while you're out in the field.
Yeah, so they were supposed to just be scouts, but because of that Snapchat shit, they figured out there were Americans nearby, so they went to attack them. So then they had to tell their command, hey, we're under fire. Why the fuck are you under fire? You're not supposed to be anywhere near the enemy. Oh, well, you see, command, I just had to take a dick pic for my girl back home. Oh, well, let me pull up... You turn over to your artillery team, and you're just... Yeah, you see this location on Snapchat? That's your grid coordinates.
Yeah, you really don't want to be taking pictures of anything that could be considered even close to a landmark.
No, it's a great way to ensure that wherever you're sitting will have an IED on it next time you go there.
I think 4chan did that, where they found like this whole Taliban camp of training camp of dudes, and they managed to find it by like the power lines in the background, where the big metal thing.
You know, and the part of like as I was trying to start my YouTube channel, I was like, I want to do vlogs, and honestly, I should probably go and take those all down. They're horrible. But I was always like, I've got to make sure I don't reveal too much of my fucking bedroom garage, because if somebody can see out the window, they're gonna pinpoint where the fuck I am. Which
they see out the window, they see a dude randomly walking down the street. They zoom in on his dog's collar, and the light reflecting out of the dog's collar shows a street address.
It's like the Suicide Squad movie where Arkham lights off the alarm, and Batman goes to check it, but they've looped the security footage, and Batman is just, why is Arkham on red alert? But I can see everybody here just eating lunch, and I think he literally like looks in and goes, "That's Jim. Jim doesn't work Thursdays. This is looped footage."
I love that he noticed that after. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't looking at it too hard until after he thought something was weird.
It's one of those things where it's like, why the fuck does Batman know all of Arkham's staff and their schedules?
It makes sense that he would know. It doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have noticed it like almost immediately.
I think I would complain more if he noticed it immediately, because yeah, Batman's a super detective, but fuck it.
That's how he is. That's how he is he does bullshit all the time.
It's his only superpower. Oh, hi, I can pick up a rock, and he's just like, yeah, and I can tell you Lois has been cheating on you. Superman can hear literally across the entire galaxy, and Batman still sneaks up on him. How?
He can hear to an extent that it is physically impossible for him to have heard it.
Right? It's just, Batman is the epiphany of, okay, but fuck superpowers. I'm better. Why? Fuck it, I am.
I don't have superpowers, but I'm going to do a lot more bullshit than the superpower ones are going to do.
Superman's over here lifting the book of infinite pages, meaning it has infinite weight, and everybody's just, oh my gosh! And then Batman dodges Darkseid's laser beams.
Meanwhile, Batman is like drugged out of his mind on fear toxin and like 3/4 of the way dead in a coffin, buried 20 feet underground, and he just punches his way out of it.
He dodges Darkseid's, what are they, Omega beams or something?
Mega beams, yeah.
Which are
Granted, he
literally.
doesn't dodge the second one that hit him.
No, but
He dodged the first one.
They're described as literally undodgeable because they perfectly heat seek whatever Darkseid wants to hit. And Batman's just, nope, never mind.
I like the way he does it in, I think it's Justice League work.
Where he's just
runs over to a he just runs over to a parademon and pushes the parademon into the Omega beam.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like, all right, that was good thinking, but it's not nearly as impressive as what I thought you were gonna do.
I just wanted to the whole Zack Snyder in the Justice League movie, and in it, Batman ends up like grabbing a parademon's gun and just wasting them, and it's like, this reminds me of Thomas Wayne, the Batman who proved that if he would just get the fuck over himself and start shooting, Gotham would have a much lower crime rate and the doctors would be rich.
It's like in the Arkham Knight games where you can roll up on a dude in a car and just obliterate the car with your giant cannon on the top of the Batmobile, but you didn't kill anybody, so they're just all knocked out in that car that's now exploding and on fire.
The Grand Theft Auto logic. I have body armor, so I can totally walk through this fire. Or any of the combos that you can just chain up where Batman's on his 100th punch to this guy's face and it's like, he's dead. Okay, I'm sorry. He's
the first punch knocked him out. The first punch knocked him out. The others have just been like caving his face in.
Right, like the Spider-Man games for the PlayStation. I remember a lot of people were just like kicking the goons off the building, and they're like, "This is killing the goons, right?" But if you go look, magically, Spider-Man just pure no look shoots webs and sticks them to the sides of the buildings.
Yeah, that's a real thing in one of the Spider-Man games is that you get a move where you can just blink shot a dude up in the air, and even just that move, it goes up like 10 feet into the air, landing on your neck, and that height is going to kill you.
Yeah,
or at the very least paralyze you for the rest of your life.
Hey, if you're paralyzed, you can't commit crime.
I mean, damn, Spider-Man. I mean, you're right, but why you gotta be like that?
I just thought it was hilarious that the developers were like, we're gonna make it so that if you hit an enemy off of a building, they will auto stick to the side of the nearest building, so that Spider-Man isn't kicking people off skyscrapers. He's saving them from the falls, and then, well, the webs only last a couple hours, and you immediately leave the crime scene to go chase whatever your next objective is. Who the fuck gets these people?
I kind of wish that when they did that in, what was the name of the comic, the game with the evil Superman? Injustice. Because Batman and the Robin was Damian Wayne. They have a conversation about this where Damian just goes, punching a dude unconscious has like a really good chance of killing somebody.
I mean, it does. It's one of the reasons why you love the Punisher. There's no, I'm going to beat you into submission. He's just, you're dead now.
But he says this to try and draw some like parallels between what Superman was and what Batman was, and Batman's just like, no, I'm cooler. But I really wish that Batman had just looked at him and then gone, gee, Damian, it's almost like we're in a comic book or something, and then looked at the panel out at the audience.
I mean, shit, which one? One of the Robins was like so keen to murder people before he...
That was Damian, yeah.
Was it Damian?
Damian Wayne is the son of Bruce Wayne. He was raised by the League of Assassins.
because I have not read a lot of comic books, but I get a lot of like clips of comic books, and I just remember one where he's going in for some kind of axe kick, and Batman stops him as he crushes the dude's collarbone. Batman's just like, "You almost killed him. He might not survive." And Damien was just, "Lol, whoops, get good."
That was the point. and then he and then he Fortnite dances away because he's 12.
It's like you look at all of this and you're like, ah man, Red Hood using guns and none of them like him, and it's like at least getting shot with a beanbag isn't going to permanently scar you unless he hits you in the head. Oh wait, he's not against that. But you know what makes it all better? He was the one who was willing to turn full Punisher in DC.
Yeah, because he had like a reason, and Damien's reason was literally just, man, fuck Batman.
Damien's
I
reason
want to
was
kill people anyway.
Damien's like, bitch, I'm 12. I spent 10 years of my life learning how to kill people. Why are you mad?
Sorry, Batman. I only got beat to death by the Joker, so maybe I don't know your philosophy of not becoming the villain by not doing your fucking job
That
was
wasn't Damien.
a little lost on me. No, that was
Jason
Red Hood.
Todd. It was Jason
But
Todd, right?
with Damien, it's just like, I only know how to kill, man. And then Batman just goes, "Don't do it," and then Damien just goes, "Yeah, all right. I guess I won't kill people anymore."
And one of my favorite things on that is like when the Punisher shows up and he's going after like one or two cartels and it's personal, and after that it's to protect the city. But when Jason does it, he takes down like what, two or three of them, and then he takes over and
Yeah, it's
tells
about
them,
control for him.
yeah, he's just like, "I've killed all of your bosses. You work for me. Now all of you are going to steal the minimum you need to survive. That way, the streets are cleaner than they used to be. And now if somebody gets an idea to bring a knife and stab somebody during the mugging, he tells them, don't bring the knife, and he assumes they do, and if they don't, they're made an example with two bullets through the head." Which, funnily enough, is the tactic that I see employed the most when I play D&D with my friends.
Yeah, it's not going to get up after you shoot it in the head twice.
Right, like of all of the times I've tried to convince my parties that they need to maybe be a little more honor bound heroes, and then they're just like, or hear me out, we
And
put
then while
bodies into the bag of holding.
while you're like giving them this lecture, the barbarian is like choke holding an old lady.
The biggest thing for me is just for like one session or one campaign happens, and a guy comes in to play a lizard folk. And since the lizard folk are huge on eating literally anything to survive, including people,
Children, yeah.
right? So he was a necromancer, and so we started collecting the bodies to either eat or resurrect. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense for a necromancer. You got a bag of holding, you've got a pocket army. For the next like 6 campaigns that I did, they maintained that loot the body and keep the body philosophy, even though he didn't play with them again after that first campaign.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've already got that bag of bodies. You may as well keep adding to it.
But it was a different campaigns. It was different characters, different motives.
Yeah, because it's funny. It's also useful. Like if you need a distraction, there's nothing more distracting than throwing a bag at somebody and it explodes into a graveyard.
I would agree, but the thing is, they never used the bodies. It was just.
It was an emergency. It's
they
for emergency.
They never did anything. They didn't have another. Nobody else ever picked up Necromancer. They'd
That's what happened.
It was just.
That's what happens is you go to like save things for an emergency and then you never use them.
I get it. And, people could say, "Oh, you're a shitty DM for discouraging your party to do this thing," but it's like when it takes an extra 30 minutes out of the session because they have to stop and count how many bodies they've stuffed into the bag of holding for
Why do they
zero
want to
reason.
count?
Because I don't know. Like with
No,
the
that's on them.
necromancer,
That's weird.
it was like, okay, he wants to know how many he's got so that he can call them later. Which the culmination of that campaign did end up with them in a. They were in a tavern, and the tavern keeper expected robbers, so he lived in his attic. And at night, when he would close it, he would pull a lever, and the entire tavern would turn into a Home Alone trap. Like all of the tables would start spinning, and then have little blades pop out, turning them into giant
Okay, so
saw
not
blades.
not a Home Alone trip.
Well,
I was expecting like buckets of water falling on people, like marbles at the stairs, so they can't run up them, like get shocked because they grab the door handle, and instead you made a guillotine of death that spins and chops people in half.
well, the kitchen was oil slick, but like that's the thing. It was to either kill the intruders or discourage the intruders from
Yeah,
leaving.
it's just an oil slick, and it slides their face into the kitchen where the food processor is.
Okay, wait, no. You know what? No, we're taking a step back. Kevin McAllister killed people.
Yeah, he was killing people, but it was like a cartoony way. You're like doing it like in a Saw way.
Ah, okay, yeah, there were some. I had some very brutal death traps, but the culmination was that the necromancer basically used like 80% of the corpses that they had to just disable trap after trap after. They didn't turn them off. They gummed them up in viscera and corpses.
Yeah, basically a Saw trap.
To which I
See, even after all this time, I've seen that movie so many fucking times. That scene where he throws a brick and it nails the fucking dude in the head like 3 times gets me every time. But what you're describing is like just watching a dude just run bodies into a meat grinder, hoping that eventually the meat grinder will get tired.
and it did, and they managed to get in. And I don't even remember what the loot was. I remember
Probably not worth it.
I remember it was a big clue on what had happened to the town because the town had been wasted. Ah, man, that
There's the
part.
false Hydra in the attic. Oh no. Who would have foreseen this happening?
I do remember. That was a fun campaign. There was a bank that got burned down, but their vault was made entirely out of iron, and so it survived the fire because it was basically a giant lockbox. And so when they went over to try and open it, they found an iron golem, and this was like a level 5 party. They had no hope of trying to kill a level 5 golem, but
That golem.
its only purpose was to protect the vault, and if it detected evil, it would hunt it down. And there were evil ghosts and apparitions in the town. So when they opened the vault, it made sure nobody was inside. Well, one of them snuck in, and it had true sight, so it saw them slip past it, and it went to remove them. But they decided, as a level 5 rogue, I should totally try to sneak attack the Iron Golem that watched
That can
me.
see him.
Yeah, they could still see. Like, it was very obvious this
Does he understand what advantage means as a mechanic?
He did, and you know what? It was hilarious because the golem hit him once, he went down. The rest of them,
He ran up to it screaming sneak attack and broke his fucking shitty knife off on its chest, and then it just bonked him into the side of the wall, through the wall, and into the rest of the party. He was dead on the spot.
here's the thing. Like, technically, it should have killed the player, but I wasn't going to be a dick and punish them that hard.
Probably.
No, it should. It absolutely should have. I rolled far more health than that rogue had, but I wasn't trying to kill the party
It
because
insta killed him.
it should have instant killed him. Yes, but I don't. Ah, man, I don't like to instant kill my players. I like to give them a chance, and so the rest of the party got ready to fight the Iron Golem as it proceeded to leave the bank while their friend was doing death saving throws inside.
Walks past them
Yes,
while he's like bleeding to death on the ground right next to them.
it did, because none of the party was evil. So it didn't see any reason to stop any of them, and they weren't in the vault. And so, luckily, somebody in the party had the brain cells where they're like, okay, gotta go grab my friend. And they ran inside, and the golem turned around, and they took 2 steps out, and it turned back around and left. Because it was a simple creature. And so they were like, okay, so what we've got to do is wait for him to get far enough away, grab the person, and leave, because if we go in there to loot, it's coming back and we can't kill it.
Wasn't that like a thing that happened in our campaign where I was the dumb one, but also the only smart person in the group?
Yeah, that was like the campaign after it.
We spent like a half hour after we found a door, and everybody was trying to figure out how to go through the door. And finally, I just got tired of it and just said I walked through it. And you were just like, "Yeah, it's just an opening. You can just walk through it."
Yeah, it was a mirage door. So all of the attempts to like lockpick it and shit failed because you couldn't do anything. And you were just like, you know what? I'm just gonna.
They weren't lockpicking it or anything. They were like convinced that because we had to use the light in a certain way in that room to expose that door, they thought that it was like a trap or something. So they were trying to figure out other ways to use the light.
It's better than the party who were so convinced that there was a trap behind every single door and gate that they always checked. And this was a module. This wasn't like my own campaign. This was a module that we were running. And
Or that thing in the same session. That thing in the same. I don't want to interrupt you, but that happened in the same session again, where I can't remember who it was, but you had a trap set up where it was like a sword and a stone, and if you tried to pull it out, it like whipped you
yes,
around and threw you downstairs. And the fucking barbarian did it like 4 times before I had to tell him to stop, and then he just said no and broke it.
okay, so I'll tell the first story and then I'll double back because I was proud of that trap. So the one I was talking about, in the module, there was a bone gate, and it was booby trapped so that if you didn't have high enough magic, I think it was like it was supposed to be a Pathfinder one, but you were supposed to have a specific kind of magic that was like holy or radiant or something that would disable it. None of them,
It's rigged.
yeah, none of them did. So but they were also like, not a single door has been trapped this entire time. So they went to open it. It didn't open. So one of them was just like, all right, I'm gonna kick it open then, and swung their sword, which it explicitly said if it is attacked, it like doubles the attack and sends it back.
He has killed himself.
Yeah, he also should have instantly died right there. And again, I decided to spare them because I don't like to instant kill my players. Because if I did, I would have much shorter campaigns.
There's two kinds of DMs that you have to know, and the one DM is this DM that we are, where we don't believe in killing people in unfair ways, and the other kind of DMs are the ones with that meme with the skeleton and the little girl giving the little girl a sword.
It's like, good luck.
You could get hurt with it. Well, that would be a very important lesson to learn now, won't it?
Fucking it will be. Oh man, I did have a couple times where a player died, and I warned them that the player would die if they didn't pay attention or if they didn't do something, and they did it anyways, and the player died. But that sword in the stone. So there was a compound that that was being guarded by an adventurer who was a genius. And he wanted to live out an immortal life because he'd stolen the immortality of a different creature. And so, as long as it didn't die, he didn't die. And so, in order to make sure these orcs outside never got in, he had a bunch of really stupid traps. And one was a shiny sword stuck in a stone at the top of a pyramid. And the idea was that if you tried to pull it out, it would fling you down the stairs and do fall damage. And yeah.
And not only did the barbarian do that, but the rest of the party was helping him too, and also getting thrown down the stairs.
It was it was great. It was a solid 20 minutes of
while I just stood there watching them do that.
Oh, that was great.
It wasn't a one-time thing like people were trying individually. It was like every time he got thrown down the stairs, he ran back up the stairs and tried again.
Eventually, he just got a natural 20, and
he broke it. Yeah, he pulled it out and broke it.
He ripped it out and revealed that there was no sword stuck in the stone, but it was a sword that would bend and flex because it was on top of a gearbox. And he just went, cool, I have a sword hammer now. And I just...
and he walked away.
Yep. And
I stood there watching them do that. Not because I didn't understand the trap, but because I'm pretty sure that you told me about this trap beforehand, and I didn't want to metagame it, so I kind of let them deal with it.
That's the same one where I believe there was the magic door, and the answer to opening the door was for somebody with... it was the... So the door was lined up with a ton of runes, and it... I don't remember what the riddle was, but the answer was to just spell out open in arcane.
Yeah, literally just open.
And it unlocked it. I don't remember what the riddle I used was. But I had another group run that same campaign because I love running that campaign. And I changed that so that it was a much more complex one, but it was a lot easier to solve. And it was basically, in order to get through the magic door, you had to politely ask the door to let you through. I had a really good rhyme, and it was like... I can't remember it. But it was like the polite will pass or something. I'm gonna have to ask the other people if they remember what my riddle was. But they said...
I think the best part about that session was, now that I'm thinking about it, was like we got past a room that was getting smaller and smaller. Somebody died, got knocked out halfway through that room, and one of us had to healing word them. No, it was me, and nobody else had any way of saving her. It was your wife. I remember this.
It was.
She somehow, I can't remember what knocked her out, but she got knocked out, unconscious, and she was the healer, and nobody else had any way of saving her, so she was just going to get squished to death. And if I hadn't foreseen this exact problem happening and used one of my feats at healing word, then she would have been squished.
Yeah, what was
that?
What was
that wasn't the best part.
What was the trap though? Because I remember the ceiling was slowly squishing. I don't remember what the trap was. What the solution to beating it was. I do remember
but it was,
that
yeah.
Yeah, I also had the iconic table full of food, and if you tried to grab any of the food, it was all fake and attached to strings, so that when you would pull on it, it would trigger lava to pour in.
Yeah, I literally walked in the room and said, this has to be a trap, and then the barbarian ran past me and grabbed food off the table.
I had the most obvious traps ever, and they were like, let's trigger all of them.
But that was the best part of that campaign, was that I don't know if you planned this or not, or you just improvised that, But after we got past that shrinking room thing, there was like a little dude that walked by, and he was just walking by to go fix the trap that we broke.
I did, yes, no. So that was planned. So the whole thing was supposed to be autonomous, and so when the traps went off, uh, autonomous drones or Warforged basically would go and reset the trap because after that room, they saw a little uh, drone that had another sword hammer because it was going to go replace the one the barbarian had ripped out.
Because I remember that because you said that he showed up, and everybody was like, "Oh, are we gonna fight something?" And then it was just no,
That's the
he's
th-
just walking by.
that's the only trap that they didn't fall for because if they had attacked it, it would have triggered a swarm of them, and they were
You
going to
could
have
say you could say didn't fall for, but I'm pretty sure that I was like, "No, let's not hit that. He's fine."
yeah.
And everybody just begrudgingly did the same thing and just let it walk by.
There was also the room where it was just a bunch of math equations, and it was like a 5 by 5 or yeah, it was a 10 foot wide hallway because you use 5 by 5 foot tiles, and so you either stepped on the left tile or the right tile, and it's like that game where you have to pick: do you go forward on the right side or the left side? One's false, one's real, and normally it's a total guessing game. It's got a name. It's like something bridge.
I remember that. I just brute forced it with the echo.
No, here's the thing. I think you tried to brute force it, but the echo didn't weigh enough to trigger it. But then everybody realized that it was all really basic math, and I think everybody that had an intelligence of over 8 was able to solve the equations.
Uh, and that's real good about that was that I was really good at being stupid because I couldn't hear half of the time. So some of the shit that just happened, I just didn't hear and had to make my own assumption about what was happening. You know what I'm talking about.
I think I do. I don't fully recall. I was also looking up the to see if I could figure out what the name
The,
is.
the guy on the ship that was missing his head.
That was yeah, the one that died when the cargo was getting unloaded, right?
Yeah, so I saw that, and I don't know what went through my brain, but you just put emphasis on that body, and that was all I heard. And I thought that has to be important. And I I didn't use this information in the game until I like you got an actual way to figure it out because I thought it was funny.
Yeah. So what that was the
It was
boss
just a
fight.
dead guy.
Well, the boss fight was that there was one guy. Oh, I'm a spoiler alert here. The way the boss fight ended once they killed everything was they found the puppeteer because the guy could control corpses and jump into them. Here's the thing: I was really proud of this idea. I was like, this is really creative because this guy has the ability to put his own body in a stasis so that it doesn't age, doesn't need food or anything, doesn't die, and then he just possesses other bodies, and he can possess multiple at once or focus on one at a time. And then I watched Hardcore Henry, and that is literally like what one of the side characters' entire thing is that he's got his own body, and then he's just got an army of clones that he possesses one at a time. And I was like,
Yeah,
well,
but he wasn't ageless though.
yeah, no, that he was dying of cancer.
Also,
But
didn't again the barbarian didn't he punch that guy to death?
so here's the thing. I got a lot of feedback that said this was a wrong move to make, but I was trying to give the party a chance to slow their roll. And so when they got to him, he was in a bed, basically on hospice, because he didn't have any bodies left to possess.
He was basically dead in the bed, like
Yeah,
zero threat to us.
yeah, that's the thing. He was supposed to be zero threat so that the party could talk to him.
And then somebody killed him anyway.
Yeah, the barbarian showed up and just somebody else showed up, and I think they tried to shoot an arrow or something at him, and I had his power stop it. Just as a auto, it failed move, so that they could realize he's not a threat, he's not attacking, but instead, because one person attacked, the barbarian attacked as well. The guy had 1 HP and like 5 AC because he was prone in a bed, and the barbarian just obliterated him with a javelin. He went, "Oh, we're not getting exposition? Cool, let me just." Uh, yeah, I stopped the first one. I hard said, "Nope, this is going to auto fail so that you guys have a chance to slow down and
And
exposition."
he was in the middle of saying the word adventures right when a javelin hit him right in the forehead.
Yeah, yeah, it was completely pointless. And there went all of that exposition, all of that backstory and lore. And as a DM, sometimes you just gotta suck it up and accept that your party doesn't give a shit.
That barbarian was a bit of a problem character.
Which is hilarious because in the previous campaign with the lizard folk, he spent the first half of it with an intelligence of 6, and yet he planned ambushes and other things because the rest of the party struggled that hard.
That's literally what I did. I had an intelligence of 8, and I was like, I'm going to be kind of like in the background, a little bit stupid, but streetwise. And then everybody else was retarded.
Right? Do you remember the bank heist they were going to pull?
They were going to do a full. Yeah. They, they saw a rich guy. We needed passage onto a ship, and we needed to like come up with a coin or something. And one of them saw a dude that looked rich and said, "I have an idea," and then took the rest of the party outside, and we knocked this guy out, stuck him in a barrel, and then took him to the ship captain and rolled him out in front of him and said, "There you go, there's our payment."
It was the dumbest. Especially
Some
because.
random fucking guy.
Also, not to mention the fact that for some reason they wanted to make sure they got all of his money, so they were very, very specific on checking his anal cavities thoroughly.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, there was a lot of talk about checking his prison pocket.
They were just like, he's gotta have something up there, to which I will concede in the heat of the moment and with everybody
You finally
laughing
just
at the
came
joke.
in and gave them some. Yeah.
Yeah, I went ahead and said, sure, he has coins up his ass because I knew it was going to make the party laugh when.
It was just some random guy. We were like sitting in there brainstorming, trying to figure out how to get onto the ship. We were thinking about like breaking in, like swimming on and like throwing like away through the porthole, like getting in that way. And then someone saw a rich dude leave the bar and went, "I have an idea."
They specifically said they wanted to find a rich person. That's not, there was no rich person until they decided to roll perception. Got like an 18.
Build one into existence.
It's where, like, as a DM, you have to understand there's a point where you let the party have their fun, or you tell the party no, and shit was so bad that I just had to let
That's
them
what happened. That's what happened is we rolled this guy out in front of the ship captain. He's like covered in his own vomit and shit because we've been shaking him around in this big bear all fucking night, taking him to the ship, and we just roll this dude out in front of the ship captain. The ship captain just goes, "All right."
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
I guess I'll take that.
The ship captain at this point, like, is the ship captain who is a more serious character who looked at this scene and he should have rejected the party, but I realized he should have said no, but I realized that this was their greatest attempt.
It was literally like It was literally like sitting in your living room watching TV, and then your dog walks up to you, and he just like drops a dead bird on your feet in front of you and just looks at you. That was what that was.
I just had to say it worked
And
because
you go,
if I didn't, they weren't gonna get
yes,
it.
it's very nice.
Meanwhile, so this makes me want to go off because I played a session with a different group, and I got to be a player, and I rolled just a human fighter, and I was just supposed to be an adventurer on this ship. We were also supposed to be unique guests, but instead, the other two players were like, "Oh, hey, I want to take the Lord background," and this guy's like, "I want the soldier background," and so the DM went ahead and let this guy be the poorest lord in the kingdom, and the other guy was
Forest Lord.
he was his estate was the smallest, and he was in massive debt, and the general was the other player, and they looked over and were like, "Do you want to get in on this?" And I'm like, "Fuck, fine, I'll be the sergeant of the army, the highest position that isn't an officer." And so they were like, "Okay, and you can have 20 men that are all like bandit level strength." Right, and so because it was supposed to be the private security,
What level was this?
we were level 1, and I had 20.
Why?
Because this the DM anticipated what we needed to do to not require these men at all. We weren't looking to get into a big fight because we were on an airship. It was supposed to be a mystery. What he didn't anticipate was my happy ass. So the Lord, the guy playing the Lord character, basically just said, "Ah, yes, continue to do your work," to me and the general. The general character ensured we had good relations with the crew by sleeping with the captain. Like
Was this like dude on dude or what?
This was dude on dude.
Okay, just I knew where the joke was going, and I just had to cut it off at the pass.
Yeah, they just dude on dude, and then there was me with 20 men, and my character was just the most uptight military asshole. Like, we hopped into this game, and I was told that I had 20 men who lazily handled their weapons and didn't really wear their uniform. By the end of this first session, uh, the men were completely reformed and turned into incredibly disciplined soldiers. I think where we currently are, they are all level 3 sidekicks.
Are you enjoying hitting your mic for emphasis?
No, this is me tapping on my desk. This is not.
No, that's it.
This would be the mic.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe don't do that.
No, because I was gonna say the only serious character in a small enclosed space with 20 men, and it smells like guy love all over the place.
So here's.
It's like the beginning of a Ram Ranch sequel.
So here's the thing. I can explain what happened, and that could be a full episode of the podcast. But I'm gonna go ahead and keep it short.
I've already done one of those.
We could.
We've been talking for like 2 hours now.
We're at an hour and a half recording. Just under
an
hour and a half.
I said two. Just about.
You said 2.
I said just about.
I'll keep it short though, because this is a kind of story that like you want to hear though. It's ridiculous. So there is a coup that is going to happen, and we need to figure out who's involved and whatnot. So the coup sabotages runes that leave the airship stranded in the air, and in order to to prevent panic from setting amongst the crew and the passengers, with the captain freshly fucked by the general, I say, "Hey, I need your crew to listen to me like I was the captain." And to which he, fresh off the high fuck that he'd gotten, said, "Yeah, sure, that sounds great."
The word you're looking for is afterglow, not high fuck.
I just wanted to throw the word fuck in there.
You want to use a lot of that.
Yeah, here's he rolled for Constitution to go again and fucked him essentially like 4 or 5 times. He was
Why
doing
did he keep doing
Constitutions
that?
because he wanted to make sure it worked. So he kept rolling Constitution and then
He wanted to make sure it worked.
Yeah, it's the best. It's become a running gag that this guy fucked the captain so well that the captain is constantly looking for excuses to bring his airship full of passengers to our estate, which has been great for clearing our debt out.
So they just don't know why he wants to stop here every single time.
Here's the thing. Again, I could cover this in a full hour long podcast, but I'll save that for another time because we've started our own clothing brand. I have a notebook full of debts, incomes, current crop cycles, pleasure crops like tobacco. It's something else. But to focus on the airship and the coup, so I with the full permission of the captain to play captain, I go to the engineers and I tell them to start spreading a rumor that one of the engineers fucked up the rune and they had to re-engrave it and replace it, and that's why we were stalled. This worked. The passengers no longer worried about us being stopped for a nefarious plot. They thought somebody just botched their job, was going to get fired when the trip was over. Crew and passengers calmed. Then we hit like a meal time, and my character doesn't go and sit with the high ranking of the ship. No, he goes down to the crew in the bottom, and he gets wasted, and he's playing darts with them, and he's becoming friendly so that now this crew doesn't just see him as the temporary security chief, they also just see him as a friend. This plays on to future sessions because one general has the captain by the balls. I have the crew in my pocket.
Yeah, I was about to say I can see where this is going.
We've already joked that I'm going to get brought before the king for having a spy network while we're currently trying to investigate a coup against the king. So we're like, oh wow, we are the most loyal to the king. But if somebody finds out about my spy network, they're gonna think I'm the one in charge of the revolution.
So basically, this whole campaign so far has been, wow, guys, it's really impressive that you managed to start this whole airship business by yourselves, but how does this help with the coup? And then you turn around and go, coup.
That's the thing, we did stop the coup. So I went, okay, they can't smuggle these weapons on board themselves. If they have armor or any kind of weapons, it needs to be in the cargo hold. So I requested a manifest. I then had all of my 20 men open every single cargo crate that was food, items, weapons, everything. And so they found the stash of the enemy's weapons. So I told them, okay, close it all up, seal it all up, don't forget where it is. Because we don't want the coup to realize we're onto them yet. And so we know where their weapons and their armor are. So when we know they're going to pounce, we can go steal those before they pounce and leave them weaponless. So then I'm like, okay, now I need to look at who was new to the ship. And, man, it took the entire session, but by the end of the session, I had discovered that there was a small group of friendly new recruits that worshipped Tiamat and had joined the ship to be part of the coup. So I think we found like a Tiamat Bible, basically.
Tiamat Bible.
I don't. It's some form of religious doctrine or an emblem or something. And so we went, great. We're gonna grab the ship's security, and we're gonna have them lock these men in their room after telling these men that they were all gonna go on break. Their shift changed. so that they would go into their room not suspecting anything, but when it was time for the coup and they tried to leave their room, they were locked in and they couldn't escape. Then we stole the weapons and everything right before the coup happened. Uh, there was a priest of Tiamat who was sitting outside the ship. He had a high altitude mask on, so that he could sit outside the ship, where we would never find him. But because I had such great connections with the crew, and I knew somebody was using the exterior vents, but I couldn't risk sending anybody out because if they got into a fight, they'd fall off the
They
ship.
just get like sucked out. They just get like sucked out.
Yeah, so instead I was like, hey, listen, I want all of the engineers and people who can go outside to just have a coffee break near all of the portholes, or exit shafts or whatever they were called. Uh, that I had figured out kind of where he was going in and out. And so I had a bunch of the crew just hanging out there, and I was like, listen, if anybody that isn't one of you, or anybody at all, like even if he is one of you, comes through those, and he was not scheduled to be doing maintenance outside, grab him. And so eventually the priest came back into the ship and was surrounded by like 15 dudes, and he surrendered. And we systematically grabbed all but three guys, and that's because they were three people who had been on the airship for like a couple years, but were unhappy with their pay, which is the one thing I never got to investigating because we were running out of time. And
Yeah,
so,
I bet.
yeah, and this was like an 8-hour game. And I,
Everybody else is playing D&D, and you're over here playing Persona.
everybody was playing D&D, but I was playing Civilization 7. I was deep into it, and so we found out when their coup meeting was supposed to happen, and so we placed assassins, security, and my own men, and even me, the general, and the Lord himself, our estate Lord, was even in there, and so these
The guy
three.
you're supposed to be protecting.
Yes, we had the Lord of our estate as part of our ambush because he had a very specific character trait, and that's that he was too rich to move, and so he is literally a like 600-pound ogre.
So you like rolled him at the dude when he came in through the door like Indiana Jones.
No, so if you have the Lord background, you get 3 retainers or followers or squires. No, it's not the Lord; it's the noble background. And so he had 3 orcs that were just 18, 19 strength scores, and they would carry him
Carrying him
everywhere.
around. Do they just throw him at people?
No, the joke was that they literally are just these bodybuilder orcs that will lift him up and walk him.
They're like the pillar medics. They're just carrying around the blob.
It's literally it. And because there were 3 of them, the argument was that he would still get 30 feet of movement in combat, but he wouldn't move. It would be these 3 orcs just carrying him
He'll
around
get 30 feet of movement, but he can't move.
because it's just orcs carrying him. And so as the joke became that the greatest attack he could do would be the orcs would tip him over onto people.
It's like that goddamn what's the name of the it's not Little Nightmares, it's one of the things that came before it.
I think you are thinking of Little Nightmares because that's where they have all of the massively fat humans.
No, there's one that's before that where you get put in like a tank or something for a science experiment, and you become this big blob thing that just rolls around.
Oh yeah, it's wasn't it Inside?
Yeah, it's Inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm imagining that, except it's three dudes carrying that thing and throwing it at people.
Yeah. But yeah, so these last three guards, they show up to the cargo hold for the meeting, and they're just like, "Oh man, where's the priest and everybody? Should be everybody should be here for the coup." And then just three assassins drop down. The captain comes around the corner. Me and the general step around. All 20 men just flood down from crates. One crate pops open, and the Lord is just sitting in there. And he lifts a finger, just don't move.
He's like the Duke.
Yes, exactly like the
He
Duke.
kicks open the cabinet and he's hiding it.
And yeah, they surrendered. And I asked the DM, and he's like, "Yeah, so you are." I was the first person because he'd ran this campaign for previous groups. I was the first person to shut the coup down so effectively. He said other people had found the three guys, but because they assumed that the entire crew was in on the coup, and so when they did the investigation, they would find the three guys actually responsible, but they wouldn't find anybody else. One group bluffed their way through it. They had a guy who was found near a dead dragon, but he was just a farmer that was out hunting a deer, and there was a dead dragon, and somebody found him next to it and went, "You're a dragon slayer." So when he got invited onto the ship, everybody part that
And
was
he
part of
said, yeah.
yeah, everybody that was like part of the coup was like, "It's the Dragon Slayer. He knows it was a king from One Piece moment. One Piece, One Punch."
It's like clearly the dragon's been dead for like a month, and they're just like, yes.
Right, but it was literally a king from One Punch. I can't believe it said One Piece. One Punch Man. Where he's just this weak ass dude, but everybody is so terrified of him that they don't question him. And he would like walk up. Like one of the stories they had was he walked up to some of the people that were planning the coup, and he goes, "Hey, I think I know what's up." And they were like, "Oh no, he's on to us." But he thought they were talking about how to fix the broken runes, but he was vague about it because it was funny to be vague about it. They metagamed the shit out of it. But he basically went, "I know what's up." And they're like, "You do? How would you know?" And he's like, "I want you guys to take care of this peacefully." And, "Oh, we weren't going to try anything." And he's like, "Good, because I'm going to enjoy this cruise. And if anything gets in the way of me enjoying it, I will be very upset." Yeah,
Going to be, I'm on vacation and I will be very upset if I am not, if I, and my vacation is
interrupted.
interrupted.
And they're over there pissing themselves like, "It's the Dragon Slayer, he
He
knows."
stutters on it too. He says interrupted wrong, and they're just like, oh.
I am not the biggest fan of that particular comedic trope. Like if like I think it was done well with King and One Punch Man, but I think there's times where it's so set up, meta gamed that it's not that funny. Like
I
if you're
remember they did that. They did that one thing with King where they heard him. They heard him showing up, and they're like, "Oh Jesus, King's getting into his battle mode. You can hear his like heart getting pumped up. He's getting ready to fight, and it's him like hyperventilating, trying not to be scared."
right, that's one of the things where it's like I enjoy it with King because there's a part where they're calling him, they're like, "King, we need you to help us with this fight," and he's playing a fucking RPG, and he's like, "I can't right now. I'm about to enter the boss's lair. I'm going to be busy for a little bit. You'll have to do it without me."
Yeah, they just assumed that he was fighting the dude behind all of it.
They're like, "Oh, King is already in deep. He's gonna save the day, and he's gonna really surprise the enemy. He's just playing video games at home." And I do like that there's some giant centipede enemy And King is like, it's been a really long time since people have thought I've killed anything. And so he literally asks Saitama to give him a hand. And so he's standing there as it's charging at him, and he's just like, I really hope Saitama gets here in time because I stand
he
no
doesn't let
chance.
me die.
And then, of course, Saitama shows up at the last second. One punches it as per his name, and I think he dips immediately afterwards, and King just stands there like, I pissed myself. but every,
Yeah,
but everybody's like, oh, that's King for you. He killed the thing nobody else could.
we didn't even see him kill it. That's how cool he is.
And it's like, I appreciate the trope when it's done that way because there is this sense of, I need to keep this ruse up, and the single most powerful guy is my friend. So.
That isn't Dragon Ball.
But with Mr. Satan.
Yeah, Mr. Satan and Majin Buu.
That's great. I still love the Goku getting punched and grabbing his tractor and flying away. Kitty, you're
What are you
meowing.
about?
There was a farmer Goku who was gonna spar against Mr. Satan, but Chi Chi was in the crowd, and so he's like, "Quick, punch me!" And so Mr. Satan punches him, and he flies backwards, and he grabs a tractor as he's flying away.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember that scene to know if you know what you're talking about all the way with the tractor, because I know what you're talking about. There's like an alien dude that comes to Earth and he wants to fight Earth's strongest fighter, and Hercule's just like, oh, I don't stand any chance against this dude. What am I gonna do? And then he sees Goku in the crowd, and he's just like, oh shit, yeah, the answer to my prayers.
See, I appreciate when Mr. Satan does it because he is literally like I like it when the characters are aware that it's bullshit. Like playing this D&D game and hearing about their Dragon Slayer and the fact that they're metagaming the joke so that it works, but it doesn't work. And it's like, it's not very funny. But then you have King and Mr. Satan who are like, I am amongst titans. I am just a wee little boy. I can't hold a candle to these people. But luckily, they're either dumb enough or nice enough to help to play along every now and then.
Goku, there's a strong enemy that I want you to fight. And Goku goes, oh, really? All right.
I mean, what kind of problems are you going to have getting Goku to do something when he's just, man, I had a really good fight with that guy. I'm going to put a hit out on myself so he'll come fight me again.
And then he died.
And then he dies. I can't wait to fight you again. Wow, my head seems to be on backwards suddenly.
That's literally what happened. Is he went to go fight with Hit, and Goku was like, "Oh yeah, so you put out somebody put out a contract on me or something?" And Hit's just like, "Yup," and then he just punches him in the heart with his assassination technique, and Goku's completely defenseless against it and dies.
Luckily, Goku can ignore the Dragon Ball rule on reviving only once.
No, he pulled some bullshit.
Didn't the guy just revive him? Like he killed
No,
Goku.
Goku basically did the equivalent of defibrillating himself. He shot a ki blast into the air right when he fell over, when he was gonna die, and the ki blast came back down and hit him, and it blew up a good portion of the area that he was on, and it somehow brought him back. So the only thing I can think of is he somehow defibrillated himself back to life.
That is the single most contrived bullshit I've heard in this past. How long have we been recording?
About 2 hours.
Hour and 48 minutes ish.
And the best part about that is that he after he gets up, he's just like, man, it's no joke. I'm gonna go fight him right now. And I think Piccolo's literally there, just like, you fucking just got killed by him. What the fuck?
My guard was down. It doesn't count.
Yeah, now that he's seen the attack once, he'll be able to defend against it.
Does he?
I mean, yes.
Bullshit.
He also does this thing where hit powers that he can stop time, like in an area. And when Hit goes to do that, Goku just powers up so hard that he just breaks that time area with the power of his ki.
That, okay, yeah, sure. How to survive explosion. Be larger explosion than explosion.
It's really simple, sir. Put on oil fire, you start a bitter explosion right next to it.
Oh, the cats are playing with noisy trash now.
That's a Captain Price thing. I think it's in there too.
How should we end our podcasts? Well, I have no idea what you said because your internet died, so that works for me.